What's up, mortgage coach community? Dave Savage here, and I am interviewing Brian Morley. What's up, Brian?
What's up, Dave? How are you?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm pumped on this conversation. You pinged me, I think, over the weekend because you had a new story to tell about how loan officers can be more valuable, and I think part of the story is how some loan officers aren't more valuable than the transaction itself.
Yeah, my wife and I are buying a house down at the beach in Delaware, and my boss told me a long time ago that once a year he would always shop for a mortgage, regardless of whether or not he wanted a mortgage or needed a mortgage. So I thought it'd be just a great opportunity to one, make sure I'm keeping my company honest with pricing, and then secondly, just look at the tactics. Look at the various online applications, look at the whole process. And all in all, it got to be a little bit of a game over the weekend, but I applied at about 7 different places over the weekend, really just kind of trying to learn more about what people did, what their strategies were, what their process was. And it was eye-opening.
Yeah. So part of the story, guys, is Brian is a black belt mortgage coach. How long ago did you start using Mortgage Coach? I mean, it hasn't been 2 years, but I think it's been a little over a year.
Yeah, we're probably been in it about 18 months now.
18 months.
Fall of 18, I think, is when we started.
And what kind of production did you do last year, and what kind of production are you doing right now?
Did 102 million in 2019 through May 31st. I'm about 63 million so far.
Wow. How many loans did you close last month?
42.
So we're talking about a very busy mortgage professional guy, someone that wants to deliver the most valuable experience to a family, and someone that needs to do that at scale. It means he's doing a lot of these. And I looked up Mortgage Coach in the back end before we talked, and you've done like over 70 in the past 30 days. So you're not only using Mortgage Coach to deliver a better experience, you're doing it to be more efficient and more effective. Is that fair enough to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I couldn't think of a better tool to use, especially in the environment we're in right now. Had a customer call me yesterday. They wanted to come into the office. One, I wasn't in the office, but two, I said, we could do this all virtually. I said, let's hop on it. We use WebEx corporately. I said, let's hop on a WebEx. I've got a camera. We can talk face to face. And while I'm doing this, we can have a conversation about a refinance through a strategy. I call it a strategy document. And I'll be sharing this with you, and I can update it just like we're sitting face to face. So I can't think of a better tool to be using right now. And this isn't just an infomercial for Mortgage Coach, but it's the tool that allows for virtual adjacency.
Love it. So let's tell the story. Let's first of all, because what inspired this is you say, Dave, hey, I've adopted Mortgage Coach, I'm killing it, but through this shopping my competition and other lenders, I have a whole new epiphany. So let's tell the story, and we'll show some of the examples that you got. Of course, we're going to cross off the names and the brands to protect the innocent. But tell the story. Tell your recent story over the weekend.
Yeah. So like I said, buying a place at the beach, go under contract, and decide to kind of embark on this. Reached out to 3 retail LOs that I didn't know, but kind of knew through people, and then applied at a few places online, did one of the big aggregators online, and kind of got to different people. And a lot of eye-opening experiences. First of all, the being bounced from person to person to person was interesting. There are a few lenders where I wound up talking to 4 or 5 different people. And it was just mind-boggling, and I couldn't pay attention anymore, and I would lose track of what was going on. And then, of course, no one wants to give you an interest rate up front, which is okay. That's not going to be the end all be all. But when we got to that point where I said, okay, let's take a look at these numbers, everyone gave some version of a worksheet, the old good faith estimate, whatever the case may be. Yeah, you're pulling them up, these things. And what I found interesting was, I own my wife and I own some real estate, and obviously we have them financed. No one once asked anything about rates on my primary residence or any of my rental properties. No one asked me any strategy around the document around what I was going to be doing for this house. Are you renting it? Are you, is it a short-term thing? Is it a long-term thing? No one knew what my goals were. Everyone assumed my goal was to get the lowest rate on a 30-year fixed. So it was eye-opening. I think I know what I'm doing. So I think I set my own goals before I went into this process, but no one took the time to ask those questions around what my plan was.
So that was a takeaway we always talk about. To get the best lead conversion, we learned from Dale Vermillion, you need to be the life changer. In order to give someone a better life, and you need to have, what are your goals? And then when you give them mortgage options, you need to give them something that achieves their goals. So I know you deleted, or you took out, the names. We blocked off the names, but it is interesting, guys. Wherever there's a black box and it says logo, they at least branded it. But if you look at all of these fee worksheets, my takeaway is everything is payment, cash to close, and monthly payment. And really only half of them even had a logo. So some of them had logos, some of them didn't. Like, this is a big, fintech aggregator, and they're basically giving you a disclosure, which, guys, we need to give disclosures. There's a time for education, and then there's a time, everyone needs to get the proper disclosures. Anything you want to call out here in these options? Anything that you thought was interesting or noteworthy?
I really found it interesting. Well, one guy found I must have done his homework and realized what I did, and he started giving me a hard time about it, which was kind of funny. But it wasn't advice. No one was trying to provide me advice. They were trying to sell me a product that they thought I wanted. No one asked any questions beyond the basics of being able to determine rate, product, program. What was interesting, a lot of people played up the concept of buying a house at the beach. Oh, that's exciting. It's wonderful for your family. And that 2 or 3 people did that. And it wound up, kind of bringing my mood up, getting me a little more excited about the concept. But then we went to Excel spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet. And that just it wasn't advice. I felt like I was kind of, at McDonald's ordering a burger as compared to being advised at a restaurant. That's kind of what the experience felt like.
Love it. So, guys, one takeaway for everybody, and I used to do this back in the day when I founded Mortgage Coach. When I would meet with CPAs, financial planners, and realtors and partners, I would actually collect examples of fee worksheets from my competition. And I wouldn't just walk into every meeting and go, hey, let's see what it looks like. But it's sometimes, when it made sense, I would show, like, hey, if you refer your clients to this person, this is what they're going to get. And if you refer your clients to me, this is what they're going to get. Like, it's not only a good tool and a strategy to be valuable to homeowners, it's a great tool and strategy to be more valuable and to help make the case for your value to referral partners. So sounds like takeaway, like the one good thing that a number of people did is that they got into the lifestyle, like, hey, how exciting are you doing it? Sounds like nobody asked goals, hopes, dreams, and goals questions. Sounds like everybody gave you a transactional experience. And it, again, takeaway for everybody else, how important it is to have a unified person that you're communicating with at the front end of the transaction and speed the lead. Like, when someone says, I want help, how can we do that as efficiently and effectively as possible? Any other takeaways that you want to call out?
The other thing is, I've always, when I started, one of the things that, and every loan officer tells you this, but I always picked up the phone and I was always quick to communicate. I was very surprised with the lack of speed to request from some of the larger retail, particularly online presences. That just really surprised me. And first to the market sometimes wins. And I think even just connecting and saying, hey, I'm here, I'll be in, I'm enjoying the weekend with my family. Can I call you Monday at 9 a.m.? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The other thing that you touched on, I think, the saying is, if you don't have an assistant, you are your assistant. And when you have your first assistant, it's time to start thinking about a second assistant. production manager, transaction coordinator, whatever you want to call that individual who plays an integral role in your team. I think that the handoff to that individual within the transaction can be so seamless and can be so smooth. So I don't think you need to necessarily be the only person, but in the beginning of that sales funnel, you are that person. And there needs to be a natural handoff to that person on your team or people on your team who are going to take it from the next step. When you're bounced around to 4 or 5 different people through the process, it's a ping pong ball. You can't even pay attention half the time.
Well, let's go through your process, because you're obviously doing something right. I mean, not only are you, a team leader, over $100 million producer, but you also help manage the sales force of Fulton, and you were critical to our success when we rolled out at Fulton. The fact that you were a top producer and you embrace this was one of the reasons why we've been as successful as we have been. But let's go through your process. Like, what is it like? Like, we saw some printouts, we've heard of other people's experience. What is it like to work with you? And I just have some questions about that. Let's try to, over the next 10 minutes, kind of net out the Brian Morley experience.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is going to be dictated by the need of the consumer. Pre-COVID, I was still a believer in meeting with clients. You can't meet everyone. The time doesn't allow, and technology has allowed us not to do that. But as we've moved into COVID and as we've seen refinance business step up a little bit, we've really I have 2 assistants that only work on my business, and they're critical team members to me. And we've kind of unofficially come up with our program. I sell, the next person structures, and the final person stacks. So it's just a manufacturing line. And that sell piece is so important. I have a lot of repeat business. Probably 65% of my business is repeat customers or referrals from repeat customers. So very often you're coming into that beginning of the conversation with a warm, it's either a very warm lead or it's a past client that you've had a good relationship with, where their guard is down and you are not selling from day one. And if you're not selling from day one, I really think you're in a position where you can hear. Either through I always like to get people on the phone. And my first question to them after pleasantries is always, tell me what you're thinking. And that question can take you a million different directions, but it's your typical open-ended question. But tell me what you're thinking allows them to share their goals, their wants, their desires, what they don't want. And it just allows you to go in so many different directions. So that's kind of where I start. From there, depending on what the transaction is, we're almost always providing a total cost analysis, whether it is a refinance, even a refinance that we sell immediately on the spot, we're going to provide a total cost analysis immediately. If it comes to, your formal pre-qualification, I'm actually trying something a little new in my business now. I listened to Scripted Palooza. What was that, about 6 weeks ago or so?
Yeah, about a month ago.
I think it was Denise Donahue said she doesn't use the word pre-qualification. So I've tried to really eliminate that word, and what she said really resonated with me, and I've really tried to remove pre-qualification from my vocabulary and definition. So when we're talking to purchase applicants, it's again, what are you thinking? Learning about it, and then kind of casually moving into that conversation about a pre-qualification without specifically saying it. Now, of course, we're going to go through the appropriate disclosure.
What do you call it? Do you call it like a consultation? You mentioned that you're giving people a strategy
discussion is what I'm calling it.
So you're calling them strategy set. Let's have a strategy set. I like that.
Yeah. And then of course we're going to tell them we are pulling your credit. This is a hard credit pull and we're going to be moving forward. And I think when you're just softer into that, it lets people's guard down a little more, and you're able to have a more honest conversation. You're able to get more out of them. And then from there, we're going to provide them, of course, with a formal pre-qualification letter. We call it pre-qualification at that point. And we're going to provide them numbers, and the numbers come through Mortgage Coach. That's the only thing that we use on my team. That's how we deliver our numbers to.
And you call it again. Let's pull one up because I want them to see the contrast. Earlier, you guys saw the PDF. It's only transactional details, and it's a PDF. It looked like a couple of them were emails, so they were templates in an email, and then a couple PDFs. And here's my first takeaway when I saw them. One, they're not mobile friendly. So if someone opened them up on a mobile device, it's like pinching and zooming and not clean. They had no options. So it looks like nobody gave you like choices, which is a strategic mistake. And no one aligned your loan options with your goals. So let's see how you do it. Show it to us.
Yeah. So we, this is one, so let me see if I share my screen here.
I'll tell you when I can see it. Green button at the bottom.
Oh, green button that says share screen. Gotcha. All right. Am I on there, Dave?
We see the advice engine, so we can see the. But wait, before you go off that, I want to show this to everyone. Part of Mortgage Coach gamification, you can see that he's done 654 total cost analysis. If you can see that he is a black belt. If you click that little box with the arrow out, guys, we're here to help you go from white belt fee worksheet, like all those loan officers that he competed with were white belts, and to be a black belt, and then you still, looks like by the end of the year, you'll be a red belt grandmaster. So there's still another level you got 355 TCAs. Should have that done within about 4 months, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's go and check out your consumer experience now.
Yeah, one of these, this was interesting. This was from October. It's one I pull up a lot, but past client of mine, I forget why, but they had started working with another lender, 725 sales price, Howard County. Let me just pull this down, get rid of their name. 725 Howard County, Maryland. So this is jumbo. They were putting a little money down. They were going non-contingent, but very competitive market in the fall. It's still pretty competitive. So they were limited down payment. So they were doing, I think, a conforming first and a second with the other lender. I don't even remember the rates, but it's showing blended at 4622 here. Happens to call me. We're talking, and oh, we're doing 5% down. And I said, well, listen, we can do 5% down. I've got a 5% down jumbo with MI. I know MI is the worst thing in the world, but one of the things that we offer is a recast. Yeah, so I was explaining the whole thing to him, and he didn't really pick up on the recast right away. So I said, well, listen, here's what I'm going to do. Send me what you have from the other lender. It was a fee worksheet. And what I want to do is I want to plot that against what we do. I already think that our option is better. But what I also want to show you is what is this going to look like once your house is sold and we can apply the equity. So what I did, I don't remember what the assumption was. It looks like it was about $200,000 of equity 6 months later. And then you have, a lower balance locked in loan, and we removed MI. So, I mean, the numbers in and of itself here are selling the loan for the client, but it's, I really think that this was the best way to explain it to him and to show it to him graphically, because I mean, not everyone knows what a recast is and removing MI, but when I can plot it out this way, it made it crystal clear why he needed to flip from his other lender to us.
Love it, brother. Love it. This is such a good strategy. And you do this whether you're doing a refi or a purchase, right?
I do. I've gone back and forth from a strategy. Sometimes, if you have something sold and you're not selling against anyone, why do you want to supply this to someone? And I've gone back and forth on it, but I really am a believer in the more we can educate and the more we can share, the better it's going to be for our clients and the better they're going to understand things. And I've noticed that people wind up sharing this with their friends, family, and coworkers. And I've had people come to me. I had one guy come to me, he goes, can you send me that Coach Mortgage thing? I said, what do you mean Coach Mortgage? I said, oh, the Mortgage Coach presentation? I said, well, I'd have to make one for you, but yeah, I'm happy to do that. So it's another way to have advocates out there in the market for you.
So guys, here's some takeaways. It doesn't matter how much we know. What matters is how clearly others know what we know. And clearly, the other loan officers that were competing didn't have it. And it really is this simple, guys. There's like 3 essentials to smart mortgage decisions, which all of his competitions didn't do, which is 1, mortgage options. To make the smartest decision possible, you need options. And there's also sales strategy around it. When the family gets options and they choose one, they own it. When I interviewed Dale Vermillion recently, he had an incredible quote that I put on LinkedIn today, actually. Go and check out today's post on LinkedIn, where he just talks about how they own the decision now. Plus, they're getting more transparency. And then number 2, none of them showed the cost over time. And that's essential to the smartest decision for the family. Because I frame this whole thing like, how can we be most valuable to the family? It's by giving them options. It's by showing the cost over different periods of time that are relevant, and then showing them strategies to reduce their costs. So in refis, one of the best practices is saying, hey, here's your refi. What if we took your savings and prepaid it? But Brian had a purchase scenario where he said, hey, what if we recast it? It's all about just looking for strategies that are on point for the family to recast the decision. So you go from price loan officer who's competing on price and rates to advice loan officer. And this is, this is a bit of a mortgage coach commercial, but I just believe that we want to help you be more successful. So it's giving you this technology, and then it's giving you community. So like this very interview I'm doing with Brian, it's community. And he mentions Cryptopalooza, so that he can come and learn from other peers. That's the community part of Mortgage Coach. And then it's training, like he started off a white belt, like he was a top producer. But I mean, would it be safe to say you were a top producer, but are you more valuable to your clients now that you're a black belt and that you've really mastered Mortgage Coach? Like, how much better do you think your clients are because of who you are today?
Oh, absolutely. It's just the ability to provide advice and everything around it. And, you said something earlier, and for the life of me, I can't remember who the speaker was that I saw, but a young woman, she spoke about talking to the whole family, and it's sales 101, who is the decision maker, and get to the decision maker. But this takes it the next step, and you're really talking to the whole family. And one of the things in my experience personally that I found, no one asked anything about what my wife thought or what her opinion was. And now I would hope I know what I'm doing in this regard. And she's relying on me to make the decision, but no one asked that. No one said, should we bring her into the conversation, and what's her goals and what's her strategy? So one of the things that I've been trying to do is trying to identify early on, not necessarily who the decision maker is for the purposes of selling a product, but who do we need to inform so that we have the family unit most educated. And when I started in the industry, I always, you always have that young person, young 20s, who's buying a house, and mom and dad are helping them, whether with money, co-signing, or just providing advice. And you hear the term like helicopter parent. And when I was younger, just starting in my career, I hated that. It drove me crazy because they knew everything. They'd come in and they do it. But now I embrace it because they're part of the family unit, and they're part of advising their son or daughter on the decision to purchase or refinance or build a home. So if you can look at it that way, and you can see them as a key part of the process, you're just in that much of a better position. And I think identifying those people involved in the decision is so important. And I think you take it even further. Who is your realtor? Who is your financial advisor? Who is your CPA? Do we need to bring them into the conversation? Do we need to share with them some questions and thoughts that you've had about tax deductibility, about appreciation, or whatever the case may be? And then you, as a loan officer, are using all the tools at your disposal in order to share all of this with them. And I mean, what better tool than Mortgage Coach in order to do that?
So I want to close out, and I'll ask you the question in a minute. Before I do that, I want want to show a 1-minute video of what other mortgage professionals have said about Mortgage Coach, and then I'm asking you a question about how you learn, because you know it's been less than 2 years. But let's hear what a few other folks have to say. So the guys, those were interviews that I did at Renee Rodriguez's Amplify event, where everybody was there to like, how can we be a better leader? And obviously we asked them questions about why Mortgage Coach. But Brian, this is where I want to close out with you. You just heard those folks, and you know many of those people because you've either met them or you've heard them on the Mortgage Coach channel. But what is your Mortgage Coach why? And for any new loan officer that's listening to it, or someone that's like, oh, this sounds good, but how do I get started? What advice do you have for them to learn to use it and get started with it?
Yeah, the two pieces of advice that I got early on were the YouTube channel and the Facebook page. First of all, I really enjoy all of your interviews that you've done with the various loan officers throughout the country. Everyone has their different niche and their different way, and anyone that thinks they've mastered this, you know, you're wrong. And if you can't pick up something from other loan officers, shame on you. So that's the first thing. I try to listen to as many of your interviews as possible so that I can sharpen my saw more and I can swipe and adapt things from other lenders. The second thing is your YouTube channel. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can search through the advice engine to how to do certain things. When I started in Mortgage Coach, we had some training through your group that was provided, but a lot of it's just, how do I do this? And a lot of searching and finding the right things. How do I create this? How do I do this? And it really allowed me to understand the system better, understand what it can do, and understand how I can provide value to my clients. So those would be the two things that I would really focus on the most.
So I actually just did a mastermind with Jay Kroll with Cornerstone, and it was for Cornerstone. It was a Cornerstone exclusive event, and he had mentioned that they hire people, and he's hired people outside the industry, no mortgage experience, and within 2 weeks they were able to do the pre-setup of a TCA for his team. Now, again, he's a mega producer. I think he did over 30 million last month. Out of Seattle, just doing a ridiculous amount of volume. But do you agree with that? Is it something that can be learned within 2 weeks?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's pretty intuitive. It's pretty quick to pick up. And depending on the platform that your organization uses, there are a lot of integrations built into it that make it seamless to work with. You know, and as you're describing that, one of the other things that I really liked was, as we've offered it corporate wide at no cost to the loan officers at Fulton Mortgage, one of the things that I found very helpful is kind of, you know, your stand-up conversations with other loan officers, especially in the beginning. Hey, did you know that you could do this? Or why didn't you think about doing it this way? Or did you think about showing it that way? You know, something as simple as, how do you name the different strategies in a total cost analysis was something I picked up from one of my coworkers. And I think just learning from other people, whether it's inside your organization or outside your organization, is the most important thing.
Love it, guys. So Brian, you are now, you know, one of the leaders in the Mortgage Coach community. Super grateful for what you've done for our mission. And our mission is just that when a loan officer meets with a family, they are getting the best mortgage experience possible. And if you're only giving rate, payment, cash to close, fee worksheet, that is a white belt experience. The family is much better served when they're picking mortgages and they have options. They are looking at those options over time horizons that are valuable to them. And then they're always looking for strategies to reduce their debt cost and become debt-free faster. Most people don't want mortgages, they want homes. So let's help them get what they really want. And that's just a wealth with real estate decisions. So dude, thank you for the value. Anything else you want to share before we wrap it up?
No, thanks for having me. You know, I appreciate everything that you're doing, keeping us educated and sharing great content with us. So keep it up. Really enjoy it.
Right on. So, hey guys, if you got value, be sure to give us a like down below. Share this with your mortgage friends. If you are a branch manager or you lead other loan officers, don't just say, hey, here's a great video, watch it. Like, watch it with them. Do it around a branch meeting and talk about it. And then give people homework assignments and help them get better. When there's a success story within your branch, share it. So Brian, thank you, brother. Appreciate you big time.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good one.